The New York Jets were founded in 1960 and have had the pleasure of having 20 different head coaches in that time span. To put it in context, there have been 8 different Jets logos, 13 different U.S. presidents, 6 different James Bonds, and 3 different NFL commissioners since the Jets first took proverbial liftoff as the New York Titans at the Polo Grounds. End of the 2022 season, the Jets' all-time record is a paltry 421, 537, and 8, placing them in the bottom quadrant of the league in terms of winning percentage in that time period. Part of the reason for this is the absurd amount of mediocre to below average to just plain awful quarterbacks they've had over the years. Other than about 3 years of Joe Willie's career, I think calling any one of these guys a success would be a pretty big overstatement, but as we're about to find out, was not always their faults. Like any organization in this world, this dysfunction starts at the top, and has since Leon Hess took control of the team in the 60s. After Hess's passing, there were only 2 ownership groups that were bidding on purchasing the ownership of the New York Jets, and both names literally scared the would-be best coach in the franchise's history away in less than a day. Jim Dolan lost the bidding war to Woody Johnson, the world's most tacky, cringeworthy, silver spoon-fed dork who does not have a future in cheerleading.
All right, Joe. Hey, buddy. Hey, way to go. You played great today.
The men that these 2 owners have hired have seemingly been worse as time has gone on, but 5 of their hires really stand out above the rest as being the most pathetic. The 5th worst coach in the history of the Jets is none other than Bruce Coslet. On top of having the demeanor of a whiny 9th grade algebra teacher who volunteers to proctor detention, Coslet never had a winning record in his 4 years as head coach of the Jets, and somehow did even worse with the Bengals in the latter half of the 90s. His failure to adapt on the fly as key players became injured, the quarterback chaos that ensued when quarterback Ken O'Brien held out, creating a reliance on Browning Nagel, and losing his last 3 games in 1993 after an 8-5 start proved to be Coach Coslet's undoing. His final career record was 47-78, which really makes me wonder how this man was allowed to coach over 100 NFL games. The fun-loving, wannabe Dick Vitale of college football was anything but during his time with the Jets, as number 4 on our list goes to Lou Holtz, who didn't even last a whole season at the helm. 31 years before Bobby Petrino's disgraceful NFL exit to coach the Arkansas Razorbacks, Coach Holtz headed for Fayetteville himself, quitting on the team with a game still left in the 1976 season. His excuse? God did not put Lou Holtz on this earth to coach in the pros. If only someone had told Leon Hess that before the disaster he put the team through that year, prompting NFL Films' Lou Facenda to say,
"Perhaps the best thing that can be said about the 1976 New York Jets season is that it's over."
The 3rd on our list comes on the week following a humiliating coaching performance in his second location of Tampa Bay, where Todd Bowles managed to pull off the impossible and, along with Father Time and his personal problems, make the GOAT look like a below-average player for most of the season. He's probably the nicest, least condescending guy the Jets have ever hired as head coach, which helped cover up the fact that he was in over his head from jump. After starting his career at 10-5 and having the Jets in a win-and-you're-in Week 17 scenario against his predecessors, Buffalo Bills, Todd finished 14-35, and has really had every chance under the sun to succeed in the NFL as head coach. Oddly enough, a lot of the same problems that Coach Ryan had during his tenure in New York continued under Bowles, and then some. He was seemingly too lax with his players, ignorant of the importance of coaching all 3 sides of the ball, not just defense. And like Rex, each year's team was worse and less in sync than the last. Now, 99% of lists will have Rich Kotite as not only the worst coach in Jets history, but maybe in NFL history. I would not argue that too much, as I think the bottom 2 on this list would probably be in the bottom handful in the history of the league on any list. In all of Leon Hess's brilliance, after firing someone who probably still could be coaching the Jets today in Pete Carroll, he decided upon turning 80 years old that it was finally time for him to start seeing results, and that the failed Eagles coach and New York native, Rich Kotite, was the answer to his prayers. Coach Kotite had the unfortunate combination of being unintelligent,
push it in, right? All right, give me weak right. Push the button. Push the button. I got to remember to push the button. Let's go fast. 40.
dishonest,
I was not fired.
I'm not quitting.
and bizarrely goofy,
Hello? Are you guys there?
to the point where his team's lack of discipline was a mere guarantee. Rich Kotite finished his career at 4-28 with the Jets, but at least he wasn't fired.
For sure.
And now for the creme de la creme of Jets incompetence. A symbol of everything wrong with the latter half of the 2010s Jets, Adam Gase. Next to the dictionary definition of the word condescending is a picture of Coach Gase, hunched over the podium with his hat completely over his eyes, talking down to a reporter who he deems as less regal and intelligent than himself. After somehow having the gall to curse out Miami Dolphins ownership, despite having a losing record there, his buddy Peyton Manning finally did the Jets a favor that he thought he owed them after not declaring for the draft after his junior year, knowing the Jets would probably take him. He picked up the phone and called the Johnson brothers, who combined don't have an IQ that adds up to 100, and they became so enamored with the praises sung by Peyton that they decided to hire the so-called quarterback whisperer that was Coach Gase. Gase's first order of business? Go behind the backs of two people who really encouraged to hire him, partly by Manish Mehta of the Daily News, and demand that the Johnsons fired Mike McCagnon and Brian Heimerdinger. Although he was right about not wanting Le'Veon Bell, he made no secrets of hiding his distaste towards his signing, before Le'Veon ever even put on a Jets uniform. His whispering to Sam Darnold that he did came in the form of a screeching cry that made Sam look worse than he did under Todd Bowles' regime somehow. His horrific relationship with the equally brash and underwhelming Greg Williams was evident. Although his Jets record of 9-23 is better than a couple of the others on this list, that actually turned out to be a bad thing, as the Jets missed out on higher draft picks that would have helped them climb out of this hole more quickly by winning completely meaningless games. His 2019 Jets gave the 0-7 Dolphins and the 0-11 Bengals their first wins of the year, which was the first time in NFL history that a team had lost to two different teams with records this bad. Perhaps the greatest thing that happened during Gase's tenure was a certain epidemic that required MetLife Stadium to be completely empty of fans who would probably be booing him as he coached the Jets to an 0-13 start in 2020. Coach Gase left the Jets the same way he came in, with tons of humiliation to go around. Now, at the time of this video after the 2022 season, Coach Robert Saleh and his crumpled up receipts have not fared much better so far, which leads me to my honorable mentions for this list. All of them. Sorry, Jets fans, there has not been one coach that has come into Long Island or New Jersey and has been able to leave with a smile on their face. I know it stings a lot of Jet Nation to hear this, but Rex Ryan was no exception to this either. His bark was always louder than his winning bite, and the team gradually got worse year after year under his reign. Even Bill Parcells was limited to a single playoff win in his 3 years with the organization, before leaving them high and dry with promising and brilliant Al Groh to take control. The future looks bleaker than ever as we sit here in January of 2023, as the Jets have no franchise quarterback, no real head coach, and Doofus is in the owner's box. As longtime Jets fan Joe Beningo would say, oh, the pain.